Hey, fishing friends. It's Joey Fernand and Dave Standing, and welcome back to Wind Against Tide, episode number 80, where we return to the Mac. Dave, myself, Will, and Shane return to the Mac. We're going to talk all about that. We've got a huge show coming up. Dave, what else have we got on tonight's show?
Wow, Port Macdonald, that is, Joey, in South Australia. We headed down there. We finally actually went fishing. I think it's been about a month in between trips. Well, it feels that way anyway. So we're going to talk about that comprehensively. We've also got a little bit of tackle chat in reference to that trip. We're going to talk about the spider crab invasion, I'm going to call it, into Port Phillip Bay briefly. Joe wants to talk about Aldi special buys, believe it or not. He's very passionate about this.
I love a good buy.
And we'll have the hookup with reports coming in from left, right, and centre with some beautiful weather over the weekend. We've got some grinds my gears. I may just lose it this week, Joey. And we've got our King Kong Donkey Kong catch of the week. Some questions from we got you guys. And I think that'll about round us out, Joey.
Awesome. Dave, I've got to say, I reckon tonight's episode is going to be our most comprehensive report from all the way to the west to the east, the full coverage of Victoria. So we're going to get straight stuck into it. So
that's right.
Port Macdonald, Dave, take it away.
Well, Joey, we're trying to work in some planning for the weekend as usual, and there's always stuff that seems to get in the way of the best laid plans. So it came down to swordfish in the east or tuna in the west. The weather was good enough for either. The one obstacle that we did have is Joey, by night, is a musician, a bass guitarist in a band called Super Band. Is that what it's called, Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And he had a gig on Saturday night at what time, Joe?
It was at, look, I had to be sort of back at my car with the bass guitar and the speakers all packed into it by about 8 o'clock. Had to be at sort of Crown by 9 o'clock to set up the music equipment and do a quick little sound check. But, we went into South Australia. So automatically when you go over the border, you lose. So you gain half an hour going over. And then when you come back over the border, you lose half an hour. So we had to be absolutely perfect with our timing.
It was military precision, Joe.
Yeah, it was when to stop fishing and when to start our journey back.
Which is very difficult for me because I do not like going in before it's dark. I like to be forced off the water through either weather or light. It really hurts my soul to go in before I absolutely have to. But anyway.
Well, we did get forced off the water because the bite was shit on Saturday.
Yeah, that kind of helped me.
Yeah.
That actually probably saved you, Joe. Otherwise, you would have been late. But yeah, so basically the fact that we had to get Joey to his gig on Saturday night meant that we could not do the swordfish thing because the weather was good for swords on Saturday. By the time we fished a day on the swords, we would have been too late coming home. Joe would have missed his gig. And as much as I tried to tell him it wouldn't matter, they don't need him in the band, he seems to think bass guitar is quite important, makes up quite an important part of any band. Is that right, Joe?
Well, it sure does. The thing is, when we're going into planning these fishing trips, we're often on weather and how good the weather is. And we don't know the weather's good until sort of 2 or 3 days out. So it's really hard to get a good bass player on short notice.
Not to mention the fact that it was Mother's Day on Sunday, and I, for one, was told I would be killed. I don't know if it was in those words, but that's the vibe I was getting if I was to be fishing on Sundays. So, call me whipped if you like, but, I chose life. And the fact Joe had his gig also meant that we had to be back on the Saturday.
And we got Wild Chicken 78 in the house. He's just whammed down $10 in the super chat in the hotline. So thank you, Wild Chicken. We dearly appreciate that.
What a man. Thanks, Wild Chicken.
He's a mighty man.
Anyway, we continued on our way. We headed down to Port Mac, sorry. Joe tried to make me detour halfway across the state because he decided Tullamarine was on the way, which I had a look at it. I thought, no, Joe, that's like a half-hour detour for me. Already I couldn't leave till after work Thursday till about 6:30. And
Look,
you wanted me to travel to Tullamarine with a boat on the back?
look, that's the only way it was going to work, and it was conveniently located next to the Savwinch headquarters, which
Well,
was
why is that's not convenient?
well, that just happened to be that way. So
Your sister's factory where you left your car was next to Savwinch.
yeah, so it was a nautical destination. So I thought it'd be easier to navigate to.
Anyway, I said, Joe, you absolute fool. I'm not doing that.
No,
So
you
we got Joe dropped off.
No, there was more colourful language than that when you figured out where Tullamarine was detouring on the way. Really,
Well,
it was to go north rather than west. I just thought northwest, we come from the southeast, like close enough.
I got in the car and I thought, all right, where is he? I looked at the message and it's like Tullamarine. I'm like, you bastard. This is classic Joe trying to misdirect me. So I said, no, Joseph, you will get yourself in line with my route to those tuna right now, or else you are missing out. So you made it happen, Joey. I'll give you that.
It was a huge dash after work. Dave worked up until 5 o'clock. I was busy selling a house, and we just dropped everything that we were doing, and we rolled.
We did roll. So anyway, long trip down there. I haven't been down that way for such a long time. Last year we just did the one trip. Oh, actually, we did a couple of trips to Port Fairy, and one to Portland, but we never made it to Port Mac, despite the amazing tuna fishing that the place produced last year.
I went to Port Mac last year, and
Oh, yeah?
and we absolutely dominated it. We got 2 barrels on Queen's birthday weekend.
Oh,
You may
well,
continue.
whoop dee do, sir. Well done to you. So I hadn't been there for a while, so that was quite exciting to head back to the Mac. And another big part of that trip that was very exciting is we dragged our good mate Shane Lowry out of retirement. He resides in Hamilton, and he is referred to mostly by himself as the Southwest Dominator. So it was great to have Shane back on the boat. It's been a very long time since we've got to fish together, and I was super excited for that. So he met us down there at Nelson. Joey, were you happy with the accommodation?
We stayed in a beautiful cabin with a wood fire. It was a corner block with lovely boat parking from the rear. Well, Dave's clutch didn't like the rear boat parking, but you can park the boat at the front. But yeah, lovely cabin with a wood fire and a couple of queen beds and bunks for 4. It was lovely. So we stayed on Nelson, which is in the Victorian side of the far west border, and it's just by the lovely Glenelg River, which has a ripper of a pub and an awesome kiosk with the most beautiful homemade pies.
Oh,
So
Joey,
we indulged in those facilities. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah,
I'm talking about that now because I've been thinking about those pies legitimately today. It just popped into my head, and I was just like, that Stockman's pie I had at that kiosk at Nelson. God, I wish I could have that again right now. It was so damn good.
well, it's pretty interesting. The fellas that we've fished with over the years, they choose to pick Nelson as the place to stay when you travel to Port Mac. It's on the Victorian side of the border, as I mentioned. But yeah, some of the boys that we fish with will never go to the Port Mac pub ever again.
No, I think Nelson holds fond pisshead memories for some of our friends who like to go down there and get a little bit rowdy. And you know what, Joe? Port Mac back in the day had a little bit of a reputation for being not so welcoming to us Victorians, or maybe it was just some of our friends in particular had bad experiences there. I've always found it quite good, but apparently Nelson is the pick of the pubs.
Look,
And
when we went to that pub, there was a little bit of a wild, wild west moment. Like I was, after coming off the water that day one, I was dressed in my Rastafarian Adidas tracksuit, and I've walked into this pub, and it was just wild west moment where everybody at the everyone at the bar just put their drink down, and they just looked. I was like,
yeah, so the beer soaked locals at the pub had never seen anything like old Joey. We all walked in the door, and it was like you could hear a pin drop, and it was
but we did
well.
we did participate in the local pub games, and I bought some raffle tickets. We supported the CFA, and I think we won 2 prizes on the raffle, Dave.
We did. I actually thought we'd rigged that quite nicely to the point where we couldn't lose, given there was about 5 people in the establishment and you bought 20 tickets, but somehow we still lost. We didn't get the meat pack. we got the runners up red wine, Joe, which we were quite happy with.
Yeah, it was good.
And it was a
We'll-
good drop, actually. I had that last night, by the way. It was good.
Oh, excellent. Well, onto the fishing, Dave. So we've launched. We've gotten to the accommodation about 1 a.m. on Friday morning. We've had 4 hours sleep. We've driven from Nelson to Port Mac, which is about 25 minutes in the car. And how did day one start?
Well, it's quite notorious, that entrance there. I don't know if you'd classify it as a bar, although I suppose it is, but it's not really a river entrance. It's just a long, shallow area. And there's quite thick kelp forests that grow right through there. Now, I've never really had an issue in the past, but this time when we were heading out, the tide was quite low, Joe.
Yeah, that Port Mac entrance is, you've got to give it a little bit of respect. You can get 3 to 4 meter swells there, and yeah, there is a bit of a swell that rolls into that harbour. But yeah, as Dave mentioned, we experienced kelp that day.
Yeah, well, the kelp, because the tide was low, was virtually floating on top of the water. So we tried to sort of run through it because there was just no way around it, Joe. And the old overheating alarm came on the Merc.
Yeah,
I said,
it was
"Oh,
just like
that's-"
whoop, 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 whoop. Dave was just like looking at shock terror. I was like, oh, what's going on here?
I'm like, that's not ideal. You don't really want that in the middle of a rough water crossing. But anyway, that happened twice. In the end, we worked out the only way to really get through it was to go extremely fast and let the boat cut the kelp.
We did. We bumped into Chris Casser on the water later on that day, and we mentioned that we had trouble getting out of the harbour with the kelp getting stuck into the motor. And he'd been there a couple of days before, and he was pretty much just like, "Yeah, you've just got to go really fast through the kelp." I was telling Dave to just put that food processor on full bore and slice up that lettuce, buddy.
And can I just say, Joe, you became quite the aerial maestro over the weekend with the drone, and you got some exceptional footage. But maybe landing it midway through that wavy section wasn't the best time.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. So we've been giving our drone a run, and yeah, Shane did a good job of holding me close, tiny dancer. He had his arms wrapped around me while I was navigating the drone
And
while
that
we
was
were
just at the pub the night before.
while we were jumping over the swell. I had the drone up in the air. I was playing with my joysticks, and yeah, he kept me nice and secure. So thanks, Shane. Yeah, it was all well worth it in the end. Yeah.
That's right. G'day, Jonah. G'day, Simon. G'day, Shane. G'day, Bo Ely. G'day, who's that? Kim. G'day, Kim. G'day, Brenton. Daniel. Snoop. Wild Chook. Is that everyone?
Going off. We've got 61 people in the chat room right now. If you're logged into YouTube, you can chat with us on the live feed. Chuck your comments in, get involved. There's some good blokes in there right now, and maybe some women too.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Anyway, we made our way out to the fishing grounds, Joe, and it has been going off at Port Mac.
We trundled out to 40 meters, 50 meters, 60 meters.
Yeah, about 40 meters. But I reckon the last month or so, I've been saying, boys, if we got to Port Mac, we would be absolutely smashing multiple fish. And it had been like that. It had been really, really good fishing. But of course, one time we decided to go down, she slowed up quite significantly, Joey. Several factors to that, I'd say. We're on the backside of a full moon, which probably wasn't ideal. But we weren't aware there had been quite a large competition going on for the last 2 weeks down there, Joe. There was crowds.
There was we'll get to that a bit later, but yeah, there was lots of local boats from the Port Macdonald Fishing Club were fishing, and all sorts of species. There was gummies, nana guys, tuna, all sorts of things. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, there was a comp on, so there was a few boats out mixed amongst the regular tuna fleet that was out at the same time.
That's
Still not as busy as Port Macdonald as a harbour.
No, probably not. But it was, yeah, reasonably chockers on this occasion. I've definitely seen it worse, but yeah, not too bad. The weather was pretty good as well, Joe. I mean, we want calm weather, but sometimes the calm weather is not as conducive to a good tuna bite as a bit of rough weather. So that might have contributed a little bit. But anyway, basically, it wasn't going off its head. And we trolled around or steamed around for about an hour or two when we first got out there, and some death spiraling did start to creep in on the crew, especially after the rough run out there in the morning. And
I wasn't death spiraling.
it was left to Joey to do a bit of team hyping.
Oh, look, basically when we got out there in the morning, it was we started seeing them bust up pretty much straight away. There were some birds.
Oh, I don't know about straight away. Remember, we did a bit of a loop of sadness and didn't see very much. Then we came back in.
I remember there were 2 feeding events on that day. There was one in the morning and then one at about, when we hooked up at about sort of 10:30. What do you recall?
There was a couple of feeding events, but it wasn't an all day type event, and the wildlife probably wasn't as insane as I'd hoped it would be. I don't think we really even saw more than a handful of gannets, Joe. Yeah. And we associate down there with gannets.
Yeah, quite often when you go to Port Macdonald and the barrel bite is hot, you will see cyclones of gannets bombing the water, and usually mixed in with herds and herds of dolphins as well. Dolphins is also a great indicator that barrels are on, because the dolphins are generally eating the bigger bait. But this time at Port Mac, we were greeted with lots of red plumes of krill and seagulls nipping at the krill.
A fact about krill, you asked us this. You said, "What's krill? Is it like tiny shrimp?" And I said, "No, it's krill's krill." And then I was informed by Shane that krill can be various different microorganisms. It is not just one species, and I was shocked, Joe. So there was some learning that went on out there for me.
So it's not just sea monkeys in a packet?
No, it's not. Apparently, krill's just like the name for like tiny organisms gathering in one spot, from what I can gather, unless Shane's misled me there. But someone will let us know that.
Yeah, maybe Jonah, the scientist in the house on the chat, he might let us know what he thinks krill is.
Maybe. Hey Joe, do you want to do something a bit risky here? And I reckon we should call the angler.
Okay,
Brother Will. I'm just wondering if he's actually going to pick up. We'll give him a go anyway.
Yeah, we will.
See if we get that one coming through. Here we go. William.
Boys, how are we?
Will Standing, the man lucky enough to be to catch a barrel bluefin. Well, I guess Will. Thanks for answering, by the way, because we didn't really give you much warning here. But we're talking about your day of glory. But to give a bit of context, how long have you been trying to catch this 100 kilo plus bluefin tuna?
Oh, I reckon the first trip we did, was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yep.
5, yeah.
Yep. And look, to be quite fair, you've done a lot of trips with me out of our home port at Western Port, which probably is, value for money. You're probably not going to catch that many big bluefin out of there, but you did seem to pick the trips either side of when we had success.
Yep.
You kind of did catch a pretty good one last year, though, didn't you? But I don't think you allowed yourself the title of barrel and gave yourself mission success.
No, I don't think we could call that a barrel, could we? 60?
Some people do.
It's a keg.
A keg. So what was that one about? That was out of a different port again, wasn't it?
It was Port Fairy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So 60 kilo, you didn't allow yourself that one as a barrel, and the search continued. And I believe the words you used were, if you didn't catch one on this current trip we're doing, you were going to give up.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was, we did that many local trips, and I thought, if I go to Port Mac, where somebody once told me it's pretty much cheating to go there.
I think I did say once, if you dangled your penis into the water there, you'd probably catch a barrel at one stage when it was going quite well. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, we went down there. We finally organised the trip. And how did you find that experience? That must have been bloody all new for you. I mean, I've been there a few times, but it's a bit different, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's a long way.
It's a long way. It was about a 6-hour drive. You're used to driving 2K to our local boat ramp, but that's an adventure in itself, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
And then the old overheating engine.
Yeah, that was a bit of a worry. It's an interesting bar out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a bit treacherous. So
It's a lot
now
different to Western Port.
it is a bit different. Now, the moments of glory, do you want to describe a little bit about what happened, how we actually, because we haven't talked about this, me and Joe, yet, how we end up hooking this fish and the technique used, because it's not what we normally do. So that was a bit of fun.
Yeah, or pitching baits. Yeah, it was interesting because they're all down low, weren't they? So everybody was pitching baits, and we started doing that. And did you tell them about what happened with the line?
No, we haven't got to any of this bit yet. Will.
No, take us all through it. Up on the screen now is just the pack of boats, Will. So just talk us through what happened.
Yeah, so we were pitching baits for a while, and we saw a couple, got close, and the plastic cover from the swivel had somehow gone all the way down the line, and I managed to wind it on the reel a long way.
Somehow, yes.
I'm counting 16 boats here on this screen right now.
So
within what, like a basketball field, basketball court.
We can also see giant barrels busting everywhere out the back of the boats. But yeah, that's the big splashes. Oh, this is exciting. So the plastic swivel protector went onto the reel, and it could not actually come off properly because obviously it's kind of pointed in one direction, and it got wound on that way, and it was a bit hard to get it off again. And I think the words I used was, as I was trying to pull that back off the spool, was, "I bet you we're going to hook up here." And
there was even a boat with a helicopter radar on it. The old bird radar.
That's
Dave.
very exciting, Joe.
Continue.
And then what happened, Will? I'm undoing your tangle, swearing at you.
Yeah, and you called it. I bet we'll hook up here, and I don't know, a minute later.
And how's the mayhem that proceeded? Because we can see on the screen here, there's a lot of boats in a small area.
You can see the seals
it was
jumping.
Just insane. Yeah, there's another boat 5 meters away, and it's gone straight under that boat, and people are still throwing their lines over the top of mine.
Yeah,
it was absolute mayhem.
I know people didn't realize we were on or something, because people are still stripping baits down, and
that was making you quite furious.
I think I yelled it pretty loudly.
No, there was a big scream about free spool your line.
Well, to be fair, at that point, someone's hook was literally sliding up and down our line with like a bait still attached to it, and I think they thought they were on, didn't they?
Yeah, no, she definitely thought she was on.
So yeah, we basically we managed to follow the fish out of the pack of boats. And how did you find the fight, Will? Was it because that 60-kilo yacht? I think we landed that pretty quick, but this one I think gave you a bit of hurt, didn't it?
It did. To be honest, I'd probably adjust the harness a bit more next time, but you live and you learn.
Yeah, well, it kind of looked like you were going all right, so I just left it as was, but there you go.
Yeah.
Just a quick update. Everybody who's not watching this vision on YouTube, you might be listening to this in your car tomorrow. Up on the screen is a big pack of about 15, 16 boats at Port Macdonald. There's seals jumping all over the place, and all the boats are reversing into the bait ball and pitching baits and stripping line off their reels. So that's what's up on your screen right now.
Joe was quite ruthless with the drone flying. He got right up in people's faces. I don't know if everyone enjoyed it, but there was a drone.
Well, they will enjoy it because nobody else was filming them. So hopefully some of those boats are watching this live feed and they can see it. There's a hard top here that I just droned right now, and he's actually tight on a fish, and he didn't see me even buzzing over the top of his hard top, but
well, I think they messaged me and said that they were next to us, so maybe they will.
What's this, a hard top bar crusher? And he looks like he's tight on
Joey.
Surtees, sorry. He just pumped some blood out of his bilge, so he must have maybe had some other dead fish on board.
There's some blood coming out. Those boys obviously had a good day, so well done to them. So
they contacted you, these fellas here?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll be rapt to see this then.
How was the what was the fight time in the end, William?
Well, you guys would have a better idea than me.
No, me and Joe were busy flying drones around. We weren't really concentrating.
I'm going to say just under 2 hours. Like, what was like 10:30 to 12:15, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, something about that.
But when we've hooked up with Will, we've had to walk the dog out of the pack because, as Dave and Will were mentioning, that there were boats, there's fishing lines everywhere. There's a hook attached to the line, and Dave, who was driving the boat at that point? We had to get out of the pack of boats because there was a risk of that running fish running under a boat or a line.
It was a bit of a joint effort between myself and Shane, Joey. Shane did the majority of driving on this fish. I actually, it's been a long time since I've been on the deck, and it was quite nice for a difference. But
I reckon Shane did a pretty good job too.
he did an awesome job. Don't tell him that, he's listening now.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you can see on the screen here, we're well and truly away from the pack of boats this time. This is about half an hour into the fight, and we've successfully walked this big tuna that's hooked up out of the pack of boats. And we've got the drone circling around at the extreme here, and Will's tight. And yeah, we had to land that while he was hooked. Makes it makes it really good when there's 4 anglers on board. You know, one person filming, one person driving, one person spotting. So we had a really, really good crew on board for this particular trip.
Yeah, that's pretty uncommon for us to actually have 4 people aboard. Now, one thing about this fish is I was quite convinced that if we got one, it probably wasn't going to be an absolute giant, because a lot of the fish that have been caught whilst cubing of late haven't been massive fish. There's been a lot of that size fish getting around, Joe. 60s, 70s, and I thought, we won't. I'd be amazed if we're lucky enough to pluck one of these proper big ones out of the pack of smaller ones.
Well, look, I actually saw the fish take the bait. We've backed up into this bait ball, and we pitched a bait, and I'd actually seen it. That Will had a dead yakka on, and it was about 3 meters under the water. I'm watching this dead yakka float down, and I see what looked like a big grey seal just streak up from the depths and grab this dead yakka and run with it. I thought we'd been sealed, but as the fish was racing away, I could just see the yellow tail flukes, and I'm like, oh my god, I think that's a tuna. Next minute, the line is just peeling off, and as you can see, we've actually droned the big tuna hooked up. That's how it looked in the water. Like, I'm seeing this, I'm going, that's a seal. Like, it's just big and grey.
I'm worried about your laser eyes, Joe, because that's quite clearly a tuna.
Well, you can clearly see it's a tuna, but when it just accelerated up out of the depths and just swiped in front of that dead yakka and inhaled it, man, we'd been seeing seals, right? So I hadn't actually seen a tuna until that point. We saw them on the Faruna, your beautiful Faruna. Was it 583?
587 it is.
587. It just marked up those arches beautifully. But there you go. There's the tuna hooked up.
Yeah, quite dependent on great electronics, this sort of fishing, because you need to know when the fish are actually under you when you're sending a bait down. But Will, were you surprised just how big this fish was when it popped up?
Yep.
Because, yeah, like I said, there was potential for it to only be a 50 to 60 kilo sort of fish.
Yeah, I was worried about that the whole time.
You were worried about all that effort, and then it's still not a barrel?
Yeah.
But when it popped up...
I think I said that out loud a few times, please be a big one.
And when it popped up, it took us all a little bit by surprise, although it fought pretty bloody well, Joey. It was, but it took us all a little bit by surprise that it was just that big. And things went up a little bit of a notch there in intensity. But everything went pretty well, really, Joe, didn't it?
Textbook barrel capture. I was very calm. We were on I know how fussy you are with your tackle, Dave, and how many barrels you've caught. And we had lots of hands on decks. I was very, very confident. But you reckon the fish wasn't hooked so well?
No, in the end, we got kind of lucky in a few instances. First, that on the initial bite, the clip the swivel cover protector came back off the reel without birds nesting or anything like that. So that was a good start. And then we navigated through all the boats. Another good start. Managed to get through there. And then, once the fish actually was inevitably landed, which Joe seemed to be under the impression we were releasing this one, but I think we'd all decided we wanted some meat. And I said, "Oh no, Joey, the bent tagpole's coming out on this bad boy."
Yeah, I missed that joke.
And we got the fish on the boat, and what I realized was the hook being a circle hook. I thought, geez, the whole fight I'm thinking at least this thing's going to be hooked awesome because it's on a circle hook. But the hook hadn't really penetrated that well, which, given the amount of pressure that we had on the fish and the length of fight, that was pretty miraculous. It stayed on. And then we got it in the boat, and the line had kind of fouled around the clip a little bit and bent that out, the snap swivel. It was actually quite all right, but it did bend it a little bit. So that was also a bit of a worry, Joey. But in the end, the thing came on the boat, and yeah, we're all quite amazed at just how big it was. How was the elation, Will? I'm going to have to edit the footage because you did swear a little bit, but how was the elation when the thing hit the deck?
Yeah, relief.
Stoked.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain, really.
Yeah. A long held goal achieved, basically.
It was something that I sort of got to the point where I'm thinking that it might not even happen, and then yeah, when it hit the deck,
Yeah.
I was
That's right. We shouldn't forget how they've become, I guess, quite common, these big fish these days. But for those of us that can't go all day, every day, Joey, and things like trips can be few and far between. It's still not easy, and it still means so much to some people, which I think is what's great about the fishery.
Look, it's a massive achievement when you do catch a barrel. Like, I've spoken to so many people in the last week that talk about, oh, you caught a big tuna. You've got to have so many things going right for you. Okay, number one, we've all got families. Number two, most of us have got a job we've got to go to. Number three, the weather has to be good. You're going tens and tens of kilometers into the southern open ocean, where there's lots of swells and there's lots of bad weather.
One of the
And then-
nastiest oceans in the world, really.
Yeah. And number four, the actual big fish have to be biting. So you really need all of those four events to all come together at once for you. So, when it all comes together, it actually is, it's something special, Will. And congratulations again, man.
Yeah, thanks. No, it was I was glad to have you on board as well, because you knew what it was like to get to the point where you start thinking you're unlucky.
Yes.
I did, mate.
Joseph, the unlucky Joe, we called him for quite a while.
Yeah, and then I thought that I got your curse.
No,
You
well,
did.
man, I started in 2010 when Apollo Bay started, and there was an amazing bite off Apollo Bay. And just back to all those four factors I said, family, job, and weather, and fish bite. It took me 10 years to make that align. And there's a fifth factor in there. If you're on strike. So, Shane, Dave, and myself had all caught tuna over 100 kilos, and we said Will is on strike, and mate, we dedicated this trip to you.
Now, hopefully, you're like Joe, because once Joe did catch his first one, he's become a man on fire. He's caught probably about 6 or 7 in the last year or so, Joe.
Well, the curse broke. The curse broke. So after getting my first one in 2020, I don't think much happened in 2021, but 2022 was my best ever barrel year, and I got 3 in one season.
Yeah, so maybe your luck has turned. You'll be all over it. You'll get multiples.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping.
Well, the season's just started, mate. You've opened up your account nice and early. We should be having barrels really for the next 3 to 4 months. Look, they've started already in April. It's been an amazing Portland barrel season, but mate, you could be lining up your second and third in no time.
Now, we put on Instagram a quick little guessing competition when we got the fish in, which I guess shows the power of a photo, because maybe I didn't use the most flattering photo of this fish. And I said, have a crack at the weight, everyone. We had about 30, 40 guesses. I don't know that even more than one or two of them put the fish over 100 kilo. A lot of people were saying 70 and stuff like that. This is before we'd actually weighed the fish, mind you. And we'd immediately, when we hit the deck of the boat, said 120 plus. In fact, you can hear it on the footage. But we were, we got to the point where the guesses were getting to us, and we're like, nah, we have to weigh this thing because we thought about not cutting it up. When we got back to the ramp at Port Mac, Joe, there was actually no way for us to weigh the fish.
Absolutely no way to weigh the fish. There was a fishing competition on, and there was probably 30 to 50 fish laid out onto towels, getting ready to be weighed by the weighmaster.
There was a lot of line class fishing going on, Joe. So some of not the biggest fish in the world, but they were valuable for their competition.
Yeah, I know. I think we had Will. We said to Will to go and check out the gantry, and he ran over to the gantry and he came back with his hands shoved in his pocket, quite disappointed, and saying, "They're weighing like an 800-gram nana guy. Like, don't they know what's in our boat?"
Yeah, that's right. So we decided probably the only option we had was to keep the fish on ice, wait the next day. When we went to Portland.
Good job looking after the fish too, by the way, Dave. We've gilled and caught it, and we actually kept the guts separately because we wanted to weigh them too. But now we got all the blood and guts out of the fish. We packed it beautifully on the inside and the outside in the big chiller bag. And
not big enough, as it were.
Wasn't
I need
big,
a bigger one.
You did need a bigger one, but we doused a towel down in water, and we laid that on ice, and you jimmied up a couple of cable ties as well. So that fish actually was packed beautifully from top to bottom and all around the sides in the chiller bag with the blood and guts removed. So we wanted to make sure that that meat was just absolutely in pristine condition.
Well, to put it into perspective, we probably used a good 10 bags of ice on that fish, just that one fish.
I don't reckon too many people would use 10 bags of ice on a fish.
Well, hopefully they do, but that's kind of what's required in order to keep the meat in as good a condition as can be. So we did weigh the fish at Portland, which from the guys at Portland Bait and Tackle, and big thanks to them. And 123 kilo, Joey.
That's it, 123 kilos. That's 100%.
So our estimates were pretty good. Awesome fish.
Look, do you count kilos for how much blood that came out of it?
No, we don't. We won't be that pedantic.
We're not that desperate.
Nobody should be weighing fish with blood in it.
Yeah, that's well said. Yep.
So, anyway, Will, we wanted to get you on the line just to say congrats again. And thanks for coming on. I know it's not really your thing speaking on public podcasts and stuff, but we just want to say massive congrats. We know it means a lot to you, and well done, and look forward to the next one now.
Yeah, well, thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. I wouldn't have had this opportunity without you, so
no worries.
Yeah.
Mate. We'll see you soon when we'll go catch another one.
All right, so Portland this weekend.
Yeah, mate, your shout.
All right.
On your wheel.
See you, buddy.
See you, mate.
See you, boys.
Well done. Bye. There you go, Joey.
Very good.
We got old Willie on there, and good to hear from his side the story of his first big bluefin, a special moment for everyone.
Excellent. Now there was some. We fished a second day as well. We had actually had plans to go fishing at Portland, but that completely changed when we got some news late in the afternoon as we'd gotten back into the ramp. What was that news that got delivered to us?
Oh, we were going to go to Portland, and we should have gone to Portland. We had a brilliant team plan lined up. We'd go to Portland, regain our half hour, fish there, hopefully catch a big tuna out of another port.
And also be at the gantry to weigh the fish.
And we could weigh our fish, get it cleaned up, and we'd already be on the way home. We'd save about another hour of driving. Then we heard that Brendan Wing, Andrew Pawsey, and Gerard, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name, but he has a beautiful V19, V19R or V19 Haynes, old boat, redone, beautiful boat. They were coming down, Joey, and the competitive spirit got the best of us, and we decided we'd go back out of Port Mac again.
We wanted to go head to head with our good friends, and but like that was going to be a feat in itself. But we were very much excited to hear that Andrew Pawsey was on board. For all of those who don't know, Andrew Pawsey, back in the day, he was featured on JK's fishing trip. And there was a segment at the end of JK's fishing trip on Channel 31 where Pawsey would sing a song. So he's a little bit of a secret celebrity, Pawsey. He's fished all around the place. But one of his most favourite pubs of all time, he loves a good pub and beer and to sing a song. But one of his favourite pubs was the Nelson Pub. And we knew that Pawsey was going to have quite some night at his most favourite pub. His first favourite pub's Marlow. Nelson Pub's his second favourite.
Yeah, well, basically, those boys came down. We'd hand delivered Joe back to his gig, but apparently there was quite a lot of alcohol swilled and consumed, and the boys never made it back out onto the ocean out of Port Mac the next day because apparently old Paws woke up and he'd caught food poisoning from the pub, quotations, which I think is code for alcohol poisoning, Joey. They went a bit hard.
Oh, the messages we were getting updated from old Paws on Sunday morning was Pawsey's vomiting black bile. He's adamant that something got him. Something's got him. He'd been gotten at the pub. And he's like, and this is Winger saying, look, no, Pause. We shared the same piece of crumbed flake for dinner. We've had exactly the same food all day. The difference is you've had way more beer than me, and black bile is stomach acid being cured. And it's called a hangover, old boy. You hadn't been gotten. It's a hangover.
Yes. It's hard for seasoned drinkers to admit that it's got the better of them sometimes, Joey. But anyway, that put a stop to their trip. I think they actually did some other attempt further down the coast. They drove most of the way home in order to give Pawsey enough time to recover, and then they went out of Apollo Bay, believe it or not.
Yep, and there's tuna at Apollo Bay. They made a good move as well. They caught tuna up to 23 kilos out of Apollo Bay. We'll mention that in our hookup segment. Oh, we've mentioned it now, so there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's about a bit of a wrap on our trip, Joe. We got you back for your gig. How'd the gig go?
It was good. I was feeling pretty refreshed. Had a good sleep at the cabin. Gig was fine.
I saw some photos with some beautiful waitresses and stuff there at Crown, Joey. You're obviously awake enough to be fraternising.
Mate, I pre-ordered my margarita as I walked into the Groove Bar at Crown on level 1, and they good old Haley, she had my margarita ready for me at the bar after I'd set up my equipment, and we plucked strings into the wee hours of the morning, Dave. It was a good gig.
That's good, mate. Now, Simon's just asked, now tuna hold quite a lot of blood. We try and remove that blood from the fish. I think he's asking, how do we minimise the mess after a day's tuna fishing? Well, Simon, basically I'm reasonably fussy and I just keep cleaning as we go because the moment that blood dries everywhere, it's nigh on impossible to get it off again, isn't it, Joe?
Well, it is. And Dave, you were complaining that your deck wash was like someone with a particular type of urinary infection. But yeah, he needs his hose replaced and his nozzle. But yeah, just make sure your deck wash is in good order and your saltwater pump's pumping water. And yeah, you don't want that tuna blood to dry. As soon as you get blood on the deck, make sure you spray it down. Keep a sponge in a bucket as well. It will minimize your boat cleaning afterwards. But we did discover a new boat wash on the way back from the southwest coast. There was Neptune's car wash at Colac, and that was open. So that was a nice corner block property as well. I love my corner blocks because you can easily reverse a boat in and out. So that was also good.
The real estate agent in you is alive and well, isn't it?
It is.
Boat washing properties 101. Just keep everything moist, I would suggest, and don't let any blood dry on there until you get home and you can give it a proper soap down, which, funny. When it comes to cleaning the boat at home, everyone seems to have disappeared by that stage. So as the boat owner, that's the bit that you get to do on your own generally, I find.
Love it.
While Joe's eating cannolis.
Oh yeah, I had cannolis on Mother's Day, but that's another story for another
Mother's
day.
Day cannolis.
Dave, we had some spider crabs migrating into Port Phillip Bay last week. It was an amazing phenomena where thousands and thousands of crabs have come through Port Phillip Heads, and they've come in here to do some business. What do you know about spider crabs migrating, my
Joe,
friend?
I've done some research here on the spider crab migration. We've actually talked about this in previous years on the podcast, and it's pretty interesting. So, from what I have read in my studies today, Joey, now I think we thought of this because good friend of the show, Michelle Brittain, went diving with them over the weekend off
She
Rye, I
did.
think.
She took a Highfield inflatable out, and she went diving to go and experience this phenomenon for a first look.
And it prompted Joey to put that on the show notes. So basically, Joe, these weird looking spider crab thingies, they come into the bay on a full moon. Generally, on a full moon, it triggers them to come in, and they come and do a big group molting event. So they shed their shells. Now, the interesting thing about this is the scientists never really know exactly where they're going to congregate each year. It's generally different. So it's a bit of a lucky dip as to where they're going to turn up. So basically, one of the reasons they think that they gather is because when they're soft shelled, they become vulnerable to predators like octopi and stuff. So they huddle together in these big groups, and basically it's safety in numbers, Joey. So a lot of them do get knocked off still, but obviously the numbers are so great that majority of them tend to survive. So they huddle in that group until their shells have hardened up enough, and then they move on their way, Joe.
I don't know why they would get knocked off, number one, because I'd actually caught a spider crab once upon a time, and the wog in me, and I can say it because I am one. Kept this giant crab. My dad, uncle, and I thought that we'd hit the jackpot. We were gummy fishing in the Rye Channel, and we caught this huge spider crab on a pilchard, and we thought we'd keep it. We'd hit the jackpot like we'd caught some kind of Alaskan crab. We went home and boiled it up in a pot, and we lifted the head off the boiled crab just like an ice cream container, hoping we'd see a bunch of goodness in there. And no shit, Dave, it was probably the meat that was in that crab was about the size of a 50-cent piece.
Oh, Joey.
It was so disappointing.
So much effort for so little result.
So yeah, they're no good to eat. So I don't know what the other animals in the sea, maybe they like munching on the meat that's close to the shell or the arms. I don't know.
So you reckon leave the crabs for the octopi?
Leave the spider crabs for the other ocean animals to eat them.
If anyone wants to go and view that, that's happening kind of nowish over in Port Phillip Bay. If you want to see an obscene amount of crabs walking around with each other, Joey.
You'd want a pretty thick wetsuit as well, because I tell you what, it'd be bloody cold.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Joey, is that covered off your crab thing?
I'm satisfied. My crabs are satisfied.
I'm surprised
Also
you didn't
to say that.
You've made me bust out in coughing fit. Your crabs, Joe's crabs are under control.
Good.
I'm surprised you didn't lead off with this next segment, Joey, because you've been crapping on about it for like years.
I have, guys.
Basically.
What do we got? We've got 55 people in the chat room now. I tell you what, if you are interested in some seriously warm, comfortable, waterproof clothes, you want to make sure you get into Aldi on Saturday. Aldi Special Buys this Saturday's got their ski catalog on, and I've got Aldi gear. This is not endorsed by Aldi, but I tell you what, you've got a ski jacket that's lightweight, it's waterproof, and it's so comfortable to wear. $59.99.
So
$59.99, and you couldn't even buy the raw materials to make that jacket. And it's DuPont. It's got the nice stitching. $59.99 for a ski jacket, perfect for tuna fishing, for offshore. You won't get wet in it. Flick over to the next one, Dave.
Joe, you're saying stuff your Helly Hansen expensive stuff. And I think as long as I've known you, you've crapped on about these Aldi Special Buys snow gear.
Mate, they're fantastic. On the next screen, people are watching on the YouTube now. With the ski pants here. What do we got here? $49.99. $49 for ski pants. How many times when you go tuna fishing or offshore fishing, you sit up on a wet gunnel or, the boat's been left in the backyard and there's all this condensation on your favorite cushion that you love to sit on and you get a wet ass. I see so many tuna fishermen just put on the Adidas trackies and they would be having wet jocks and wet asses and they wouldn't be having a good time. But Joey has got his Aldi pants on. His ass is dry.
What about longevity, Joe? How long do they last for?
Mate, I've still got them. They've been covered in tuna blood. You just chuck nappy sand in and just soak them for 3 hours in the washing machine. They're good as gold. But Joey has got a dry ass and he's comfortable. I'm a creature of comfort on the water, man.
I'm pretty sure the words you used whilst we were fishing was something like, you couldn't understand how they could make it for the price they're selling it, and you were sure glad that some poor child in a sweatshop somewhere was manufacturing you those beautiful cheap clothes.
Something like that.
But you weren't being completely serious.
Dave, what's on this third slide here? This is probably one of my favorite of all time Aldi ski sale items, and it's a new one for this year. It got me particularly excited. $9.99. What is it, Davey?
Well, Joe, you're quite infamous for your snow gloves on the tuna fields because apparently the cold bars on the boat, the stainless, is too hard to grip with bare hands. And I've come to realize on the last few trips that your phone is one of the favorite additions. Now, granted, you are our Win Against Tide media manager.
That's it. It's it's hard being a floating media center on the water. Everybody wants to know what you're doing, where you're at, what you're doing, and someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you tend to be on the phone quite a bit, which would be hard in those big puffy gloves, Joe. So you're quite pleased with this new release we've got here.
Yep, that's it. It's for the phone addicted fishermen. This last Aldi special buys on the ski sale this Saturday.
Touchscreen gloves, Joey. So
can you believe it? Whoa. Just stop for a second.
Oh, it's pause for poignance.
Warm hands. You can touch your phone and you can use your phone and you got warm hands.
Yes.
How good's that?
Very good, Joe. And only $9.99.
$9.99.
Yes. Aldi should give us some money for this.
Dave.
Anyway, when I get down to Portland next time, I'll be looking at the ramp and there'll just be like 100 people walking around wearing these $10 phone gloves, Joey. So you've done a great service for the fishing community there.
There you go. Aldi ski sale this weekend. You want warm clothes, waterproof and dry and lightweight. Love it.
Awesome. Now, Joey, can we move on to my favourite segment, our fishing reports segment?
Let's do it.
Hey!
Welcome to the Hookup, where we go around Australia and indeed the world for the freshest fishing reports. Joey, it's a big hookup this week. We've got action to the east, action to the west, action to the centre, action to the south.
We've covered everywhere.
That's right. So first footage that comes in. A lot of boats got out of Lakes Entrance over the weekend. Finally, the infamous GTs have dispersed, Joey. The giant toads.
That's it.
And my good friend Nigel has sent in a little bit of footage. He got out wide of Lakes Entrance over the weekend, Joe. And they landed one beautiful swordfish about 8 kilos. And they also lost another one. So he sent me a little bit of footage of one coming up ready to jump here.
Oh, we've got some beautiful. Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah, he was out Sunday, wasn't he?
He was out potentially Saturday and Sunday, I think.
Wow.
He tends to do that overnight, which I find absolutely ludicrous. But
oh, wow. Did he get any bites in the night? There's
the fish that they landed. I don't know how much fishing he actually did at night. I don't know if you guys put out a shark bait overnight and catch the odd mako shark and stuff, but not entirely sure. But there's the one that they landed, which I think he said was about 80 kilo, Joey. And they
nice fish.
Lost a bigger one. So Lakes Entrance did go pretty good. I think there was probably at least 10 swords that came in between Lakes Entrance and Cape Conran that we know of. So
wow,
the toad dogs seem to have dispersed a little bit, giving everyone a proper shot.
And the weather was magnificent. These sword grounds in Victoria are, about 80 to 100 kilometres offshore. So we had spectacular weather over, Saturday, Sunday, Monday on those sword grounds, which brings us into our next report on the hookup. Fabian Villela from Tuna Angling Club had gone on board with Richie Arbella on Dreamcatcher 2. They got the call late on Saturday night to say the swords were on and to get their butts down there. They left at 1:15 a.m. on Monday morning, and they hooked up with Richie at 5:30 a.m. at Cape Conran, and they fished. They fished a full day. They didn't get back into the ramp until 7:30 at night that day, but they hooked 2 swordfish. They had one bite, and they'd also caught an absolutely huge big eye thresher shark. And Dave's going to get some vision up on the screen there, but this is Dave, Matt, and Rick from Tuna Angling Club with a huge big eye thresher boat side there with Richie Arbella on Dreamcatcher 2.
Now, these are not uncommon capture while sword fishing, Joe, and I'm told they fight extremely hard, these things. Got a massive tail on them, and pretty interesting when you see their face. They've got like a big eye, as the name says, and like a pointier snoot than a normal thresher shark.
So it is actually a different species.
It's a different species, Joe. They grow extremely large.
And it's foul hooked here.
Now you can see the pec fins on the thing are absolutely huge, which basically gives them a lot of purchase in the water, making them hard to lift, especially if you're going to hook them in that fin like these boys have. Makes it an extremely tough fight. So I don't know if the boys were a bit disappointed that that wasn't a swordfish that they caught with Richie, but still a really cool thing to see, Joey.
Absolutely. And one of the swordfish from their drops that they did hook up to, it was apparently it actually came up to the surface and it threw the bait. Have you ever had a swordfish come up on the surface and throw the bait on you before, Dave?
Yes, I have, Joey. It's quite upsetting. Yeah, part of the game is sword fishing. They've got reasonably soft mouths and can be notoriously hard to hook well. I don't know if anyone's really worked out the magic bullet when it comes to swordfish for getting great hookups every time. Some guys swear by circle hooks. Some guys swear by J hooks. But yeah, quite often they'll come up, and when they perform these aerial maneuvers, Joey, that's when they're lost. So can be a tough fishery. So I imagine the boys would have been pretty tired when they got home, Joe.
Oh, they would have. I think they actually had I think they had the next day to recover. I'm not too. They stayed at a mate's house in Lake Central. There's Fab hooked up. Look at him there. He's on a big thresher there.
Well,
little did he know at that point as a thresher, but no, that's absolutely awesome stuff. These boys actually that they'd gone to Richie's Marlin masterclass, and they'd made plans to get on board with him for the sword fishing season. So yeah, I know Fabian was really impressed the way Richie ran the deck and ran the charter for them, and he said he'd absolutely go back again and had a wonderful experience with him. He reckons Rich is probably only targeting the swords for the next 3, maybe 4 weeks at most, and then he's going to shift his attention to the barrel tuna. But apparently that the weather, where the wind comes from, is reasonable now, and it's good to go offshore. But he seems to think that when it gets to sort of that mid to late June, that the wind comes from a different direction when it is actually.
Well, people
really
quite
rough.
often ask me, Joey, when our sword season ends, and to me, it's like it's not really the fish; it's the weather. After about July or late July, for months on end, it seems to become quite like you cannot fish out there. It's just too rough. So I guess that's why Richie he's figured that out over the years, and he'll be turning his attention to the big tuna at that point. Hopefully, we get some good days in the next month or so, Joey. I'd love to get out there and have a crack. If you don't ruin it with your band playing.
Yeah, I'm next month for me. And hopefully there's still some good weather.
Rightio. Now that covers off the lakes entrance in eastern Victoria. Swordfish, the tuna. We've got some great footage. It's been sent in here from good mate Kev Bahaja, Joey.
Oh, and now he's been fishing offshore Port Albert,
Port Welshpool, Joey.
Welshpool.
So the school tuna here have just kept getting better and better, and they're absolutely on fire. Now I'm pretty sure Kev went out with he went out a few days ago on his own and he caught a ridiculous amount of fish. He had videos of him swimming under the boat and everything, and it looks today, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe he's on Lee Rayner's boat. You can see the islands in the background there, Joe.
Just a tremendous amount of bust ups. Look, we'd been chasing the school tuna out the front of the eastern entrance of Western Port. It was sort of February, the end of February, start of March, but these fish are absolutely working really, really hard. They're not doughy at all. They are absolutely making the water. It's white water and birds bombing. So the school tuna are going really, really strong offshore Port Welshpool at the minute.
Yeah, it's
and still today as well. On Kev's Instagram, he had some nice tuna busting also.
Absolutely. It's the season that never ends. Oh, by the way, good mate Simon Webster was out there on Monday and he caught a heap too, Joey.
One begs to ask the question, when these small ones move on, surely the big ones have to pass through there. I don't know if has there been any barrels ever caught before off Port Welshpool offshore? Maybe 2023 is going to be the year. What do you think?
Mate, I can't believe there was none caught there last year. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sneaky ones caught. But the life that we had out of Western Port was moving that way quite rapidly. There was fish caught off Cape Lip Trap, and they were 100% moving that direction. So the islands that hold the bait out there around Welshpool and the Prom it could be an exceptional fishery in years to come, if not already is. So I wouldn't be surprised if, this year we see a few people out there having a look, Joe.
Well, it is. That's how it sort of started here in Western Port. We had such an amazing run of small school fish, and people just kept going out to look for them. And once we got into the winter, the whales start coming through, the bait gets bigger, and we start to see gannets and dolphins. And when you see gannets and dolphins, for those serious tuna fishermen that fish the West, that means barrels.
That's right. So keep an eye out for that coming up soon, Joey. Now, we've had some cool footage sent through from Wesley, mate of Jonah Yick, mate of ours. Why not? He's a mate of ours.
Mate of ours in Tasmania.
Fishes off his jet ski, Joe. Tries to catch huge fish off a jet ski. Bloody mad dog he is. Now, the barrel fishing there at Eagle Hook Neck has picked up in the last few weeks. It's really good. He was out amongst it in his jet ski, Joe. I've got a bit of footage I want to show you.
All right, let's go. On his jet ski, and he's got a couple of rods out. He's got a spread out for and we're just going to get some volume here because this is an incredible bite you're about to hear on your screen. And he's on.
Trolling around the infamous Hippolyte rock, Joey.
He's furiously trying to get in his other lines. And that thing is just not slowing down.
Now, apparently he encountered... Oh, that fish is screaming. He encountered the issue which they quite often encounter down there in Tassie. And as you can see from this video, the big old seals grabbed his fish.
And
so you can see there's actually another boat there, Joey. They've backed up to try and scare the seal off Wesley's fish.
Yeah.
And
could have stroked him with the propeller.
I think they've inadvertently tangled him, by the way, but that's all right. Everyone's trying to help each other. And in the end, I believe the seals won out, and poor old Wesley lost his barrel, Joe.
That's just gut-wrenching. And we mentioned on last podcast that, the seals there are just absolutely massive, and there it is. It's grabbed the seal by the jugular, and it's thrashing it around the surface of the water. Poor Wes.
Oh. Yeah, so probably a 90 to 100 kilo tuna, and that seal's basically having its way with it, Joey.
The seal is just having it like a McDonald's Happy Meal.
That's right. Beautiful sunset footage anyway. So thanks for that, Wes. That's a big ass seal.
It's freaking massive, man.
Wouldn't that not be scary in a jet ski, having something that big, all aggressive right near you?
Yeah, it really would.
Anyway, well done and commiserations there, Wesley. Portland, as soon as we left, the barrels went crazy. Matt Hunt got another dolphin fish, by the way, Joe, on the weekend.
He got a mahi on Sunday morning.
He's on fire with the barrels too. The last few days he's been hooking barrels. And, they've come on strong.
I just seen he's taken a delivery of some beautiful JB lures. I think it was one of those blue boys, which one of your favourite lures, Dave.
Yeah, one of our absolute favourites.
Blue boys or blue dogs? Sorry,
blue dogs. So Brock Ely asked when we think the next good barrel bite will be. Well, I think it's now, mate. The Portland's really fired up, and if I had to really pinpoint a great time, it would be as we approach the next full moon, especially if there's a little bit of weather on. But these days, there's just that many fish there, and they have to feed. Like any day can be a good day, really, except if we're there. Then it quietens right off. You said to me, Joey, the bull and Merai trout. Did you have some intel on that?
No, the trout. The chin dogs, the Chinook salmon.
The chin dogs.
The bull and Mary's seen some good.
The worst performing video we've ever put out.
I love that little lake, but bull and Mary, there's some beautiful Chinook salmon being taken there at the minute, Dave.
Okay, good to know.
And you've got something Parrambeet trout. Have you seen something about the trout also at Parrambeet this week?
Yeah, I've just seen more photos of the big chin dogs and browns coming out of Parrambeet as well, Joey.
Awesome.
So Crater Lake's looking good still, if you're into that.
So we should get our pilchards and some chook pellets and head on back down.
Well, we've had some practice on the tuna now, Joey, pitching pilchards and yakkers and stuff, and I think that we can go and transfer that into some big trout.
Yeah, we used bluefin to burley up some Chinook salmon, so
that's a secret.
We're proud of okay.
You've got a bit of a King Kong Donkey Kong catch of the week, Joey, that you had sent in just today.
Are we going to award it to this next person?
Yeah, I think we are.
All right. Well, our King Kong Donkey Kong catch of the week goes to Izzy Setso, who's caught her PB squid out of Western Port, 51 centimetre hood. And she's just sent us in this video of this behemoth of a calamari up on your screen right now. It's going to go to Izzy.
King Kong, Donkey Kong match. Look.
There you go. 51 centimetres hood.
In a world of giant swordfish and giant tuna, Joe, a squid over 50 centimetres still takes out catch of the week for me.
Really? And have you caught a 50 centimetre squid before, Dave?
I have not. I've caught many 48ers, but never one over 50. So that's why I placed that capture quite high.
Yep. Izzy reports she got that one on Tyre Bank on the run-out tide, bottom of the run-out. Giant squid, autumn time. We're not quite winter yet. So
no, autumn's always a good time in the North Arm for really big squid. Although I'm told it was really crap out there today. I had a report from Nigel who went out to get more swordfish baits.
Oh, so he caught his sword on squid, the one from the weekend.
Oh, I don't know. I assume so, if he's getting more.
Yeah.
So, that wraps up the hookup.
Oh, no, we've got one more.
Oh, what do you got?
So back to Portland, back on the West Coast, when we were cleaning up our tuna on Saturday morning, we donated some of our freshly caught barrel frame to be transferred into some deep dropping bait. We bumped into David Law down at the Portland cleaning tables, and
it was really nice, Joe, to be able to give away every part of that tuna. We gave David some offcuts off it for bait, and another man came and took the parts of the head and had a good dig around in there as well. So virtually all the meat was taken off that fish.
Yeah. David had planned to go out on Sunday deep dropping for some blue eye, and we exchanged numbers, and he reported in Sunday from his deep dropping session he caught 3 blue grenadier with a tuna squid cocktail with some of the tuna that we donated. No blue eye for him, but 3 grenadier. Reckons it was a pretty average day, but it's cool. Still really cool to see that there is that deep drop fishery if you're interested in that.
I think he mentioned his friend had caught blue eye to 20 kilo. Was it 20 kilo?
Yeah, that's what he said. I thought it said 22 or 23 kilos. Blue eye, like that is just huge.
Not long before. That's why he was going out there, Joe.
And he did say, Dave has said in other podcasts, some people guard their blue eye marks with their life. because it's an extremely tasty deep water fish. And
Joe was trying to network us up some blue eye marks. I said, Joe, I'm never going out there. I'm not going to Portland and going to the shelf deep dropping. I'm there for big tuna and mahis and stuff.
you've caught blue eye before, Dave.
Yeah, that's off. I've caught them actually once off Port Fairy, little ones. But yeah, generally the bigger ones have been off lakes while we've been sword fishing, Joe.
And how'd you get your arm twisted to go deep dropping for blue eye after what you just said then?
No, well, it was while most of them have been while we've been sword fishing, and we've death spiraled a bit. So we've just decided we need to put the bottom bait rod down to have some fun, and we've caught big blue eye. So bycatch. I certainly wouldn't be running all the way out there just for that.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they taste good, I'm just not that into it. Like, it's exciting, but like realistically, watching an electric reel wind up meat for you is it's fun, but I probably wouldn't go to that extent, that effort
Look,
to do it.
if I lived down there, I'd probably,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'd do it all the time. But
If-
when I've just said it before. You've got work, family, other commitments. We're time poor. We want to go for big fish when we go.
That's right. Now, Joe, that wraps up the hookup. Is it wrapped up this time?
Yeah, we're wrapped.
I've got to grind my gears.
Oh,
Something is.
We now
Tom.
go to Peter Griffin for You Know What Really Grinds My Gears.
Thanks, Tom. You know what really grinds my gears?
Try hard Instagram celebrities, Joe. Something has come across my desk of late, and I'm sorry if some people feel targeted by this, but the blue tick, Joe. The blue tick on Instagram.
What is the blue? I thought the blue tick was like when you reach a certain milestone
Yes.
and you get to a certain amount of fans.
Once preserved, only to be handed out to big celebrities with giant followings, Joe, so that us common folk know that they are better than us. But now, Joey, apparently you've been able to buy your way into the celebrity blue tick. And I've noted some certain fishing celebrities have bought themselves the Instagram blue tick, Joe.
How do you buy a blue tick on Instagram?
Well, I saw it on our Windy and Slide Insta not long ago, actually, and there was a little button that said you can click it and you get yourself verified with the blue tick. And I resisted because I'm like, no, we're getting a blue tick, Everett, because we've got it through merit, Joe. But I know for sure some people have bloody gone on there and bought themselves one to look like big old celebrities.
Shame, 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 shame.
Really grinds my gears.
Oh, cool.
Nah, I mean, good on them, but bit of a wanker move.
Ah, it's very sad. Hey, what's an update on our King Kong, Donkey Kong hoodies?
They're all ordered, Joey.
When can I get them?
Quite a number of people participated in the pre-order, so all your hoodies are getting printed as we speak. 2 to 3 week lead time, so we should see them in a couple of weeks, and then we will ship them out to you guys. So yeah, maybe 3 weeks, and you should have them.
Oh, beautiful.
There was a slight error in. I actually had an email yesterday, Joey, and they'd done the mock-ups and they'd used our old design. And I said, no, you've done the wrong one. So we've corrected that. We're back on track. They're looking good.
Love it. I can't wait. It'll go beautifully with my new Aldi ski jacket.
It's going to blow your budget out of the water, Joey. I can't keep up with the Aldi specials.
Yes, special buys.
Yeah, so that's about where we're at for the show. I reckon that's about all I've got for you, Joey, unless you've got anything else to add. I reckon we'll wrap this one up.
We got some questions.
Oh, crap. Completely forgot a whole segment.
We've got some questions on Instagram. There we go. There's some questions. We've got
Mitchy chap.
we'll go Bailey_Web29. Do you find that you get any barrels with school tuna, or do you find they swim separately, Dave?
100%. You do get them mixed in, especially down at Portland and the West Coast. It can actually be a little bit annoying because sometimes you'd be surprised how big a lure those school fish will eat. And all the time that you waste winding those in is time you can't be catching the bigger ones. So they definitely do mix in at various times. Even on the weekend, we had some small fish jumping amongst the big ones, but we were able to target only the bigger ones using our cubing techniques, and also obviously we run fairly big lures, so we do avoid catching a lot of the small ones, Joe. But yeah, definitely they will swim together at times.
Marty Phillips writes in best winter fishing options. I've got a couple. I mentioned on last week's podcast, you might be interested in Western Port to go to Jam Gerup at and go out to that beach at Stockyard Point. You want to go there on low tide and cast out into that channel, into that skinny water. A lot of big fish get trapped up in that skinny brown water up to the northeastern side of Western Port. So that would be one winter's fishing spot. Another fishing spot, I would say, the Paddo River, and
Mulloway,
the
Joey.
Yarra River, Mulloway in the wintertime. That is also a good winter fishing spot.
Also perch and brim.
And also, you'd also want to look by boat, winter snapper fishing. Oh, sorry, land-based. No, that's scrapped. Dave, what do you think? What do you think about our land-based winter fishing?
Yes, I was just going to suggest some of the inshore options. So the trout streams and stuff, which will soon be shut with the fish spawning, but you can still get access to them at the moment. So plenty of good trout fishing happening, and your lakes and Gippsland lakes and that sort of thing, brim and perch, all very accessible, Joe.
Also, I heard you're casting salmon off the beach. I'd be getting down to Inverloch and Venus Bay and some of those surf beaches. You can cast some lures, or have the old surf rig out with some bait and a surf popper for some winter salmon. That's always a good fun off the land. Just make sure you're nice and warm and dry.
Not to mention you can jetty hop around the piers of Western Port and Port Phillip for squid. Can be really effective this time of year, Joe.
Yeah, especially around a full moon. But that's all year round, really. But you want to get to some of those piers that are in those lower parts of the bay where the seagrass and the sea kelp is thick and provides lots of habitat for those big squid to come in. Places like Portsea, Flinders, Rye, Blair Gowrie. It's good to go squid off the pier in winter.
Squid wrangling. Jonah Yicker sent in a question, Joey. He said, what would you rather catch, a 30-kilo swordfish or a 50-kilo bluefin? I'm going swordfish.
Swordfish, just because we don't see them so often.
100%. And bluefin becoming rather quite common. Swordfish for sure for me.
That's
also,
it.
probably slightly prefer eating swordfish.
Yeah, especially when they're $13 for 300 grams at La Mana.
Mitchy Chap wants to know when our OnlyFans are starting up, Joey, because apparently that is the go-to method for creating money these days.
That's a great way to spin up some money.
Now, we were talking on our recent fishing trip about I've got a crap low-res photo up somehow.
That's okay. It's probably better that way.
You don't want this one too high res. Just flick that one on the screen and off.
Okay. My hand's stuck.
It's still on the screen. Get rid of it. On our recent fishing trip, we were discussing how the thumbnails on YouTube have become increasingly of girls looking very beautiful in fishing videos. The thumbnail is like usually a hot girl.
Yeah.
So Joey
like
said,
that.
we need to recreate that. I'm getting out of it. We need to recreate that. And I said, Joey, you hold my beer. And I struck a pose, and that will be on our next thumbnail. And we'll see how that one goes, Joe.
Awesome.
Probably going to lose all our subscribers.
That's it. It could be diabolical.
So, yeah, next step from that is probably an OnlyFans, Mitch. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Chris Gotzi wants to know best winter snapper baits. Calamari is always awesome in Western Port, and oily fishy baits like pilchard also very good.
Yeah.
Would you agree there, Joey?
Yep, absolutely agree. We start using, really winter fishing sometimes in September when the water's still cold. Those are the baits that we're using, but I'm sure June, July they would be fine. Actually, one fishing with Fergie back in the day, hooked up with Brendan Wing and did some fantastic winter fishing in the top end of Western Port, and they used calamari for bait. It was very good for them.
Very good. And to finish off, PUC Lynch Fishing a bit of a Jason Taylor Ace Jace fan, I believe. He wants a whole segment on Ace Jace, and you know what? You will get that very shortly in one of our upcoming shows. We're going to get Jace on to have a chat about all things kingfish. I think he's finally maybe going to stop trying to catch kingfish for the year. He might be throwing in the towel. Couldn't be sure. He's probably still out there in the freezing cold trying to catch one, but I think he might be close to admitting defeat for the year, Joe.
Yep.
So that's all the questions we've got. Really appreciate you guys sending them in. It's been an awesome potty, Joey. That's all I've got for you. My voice is going again. Still not 100% recovered from this cold.
Yeah, I seem to have caught this voice bubonic plague from you also. So thanks for that.
No worries, mate. You sit in the car with me for 12 hours. It's probably going to happen. Totally
Yeah.
worth it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Let's do it again. And hey, guys, make sure you subscribe and like our YouTube channel. You will see our full episode of Return to the Mac. Dave is editing it up furiously. Might take him a couple of nights after he gets little Sammy to bed to get it all together. But make sure you check out that video. That will drop in a short.
I'm thinking Sunday, Joe.
He's called it.
Yeah. I'm thinking Sunday evening. We'll give that one a go.
Yeah.
So the footage is the best we have ever filmed, in my opinion. So hopefully I'll be able to stitch it all together to make somewhat of a cool story.
Look, I just filmed it and I looked at it through the viewfinder and I was really, really impressed with it. But yeah,
Man, I wish we got the actual hookup of the fish, but at that point I was kind of swearing and trying to get the tangle off a reel. So it would have been so cool to see that, but didn't get that. But we did get so much other cool stuff. So I reckon it'll be awesome, Joe. So keep an eye out for that one. Thank you, everyone who jumped on and watched tonight and participated in the live feed. You're all legends. We appreciate it. And we will see you next week.
we try this one, Dave. This time we're gonna go. You're gonna fist pump me,
Oh, okay.
and we go booyah kasha.
Booyah, Kasha.
Very good.
I did not know what was going on there. Oh no, the fish has jumped out of the tank, Joey. It's dying.
Piss off.